is a game as old as the NAL itself, and throughout the last 4 years, the Big Purple Bastion has the better record against Boston's best. But today, everything seems a little bit flipped on its head. One team is undefeated with a historic start to the NAL, and the other is trying to save their season in a position none of us ever thought we would ever see them in. I'm Jacob, he's Foxay, he's Jesse. This is unprecedented times for both teams. DZ could miss playoffs, and OXG is 5-0 for the first time in NAL history. It's a great story, but I think it kind of leaves our predictions for this game kind of open and shut. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, this should be one of the greatest games in the NAL. It should always be. Darkzero, Oxygen, these are our legacy orgs. These are some of the best organizations in the history of North America. But unfortunately, with the way that Darkzero have been playing, I don't expect it to be that. DZ are in a massive slump right now. Oxygen are playing better than they have in a very long time. Sorry. But so it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Darkzero to win this one.
No, I agree. I'm so disappointed. Like, DZ's always been a hard game against us. Of course, they want to give, like, the easiest season. I mean, no hate to those guys, but come on. I couldn't
really
catch a
funny
break.
that they decided to do this when you decided you were done playing.
Yeah, I mean, DZ is known for just being so methodical and slow, and they're one of the most frustrating teams to play against. And of course, now they just don't look like DZ necessarily anymore, and I don't get to play against them.
We need to do basic breakdowns on DZ, even though at this point, the problems feel like they just keep on riding themselves. It's the same slow problems. In some of the listen-ins that we had last week, it was lack of communication, some people just yelling all over the place. There's so much to talk about, but they lost against Beast Coast on Chalet 7-1. Let me say that again. Darkzero lost Chalet, a map they really like, to Beast Coast and won one round. What the hell?
I mean, I have a pretty bold opinion on how I think it's working behind DZ right now. I believe when they picked up Nave, they had so much flexibility, so much opportunity, and it was so much fun. They saw so much life. They were actually playing fast, which DZ and fast do not go hand in hand together, but Invite they did. And I think now, with more time, they've been trying to get Nafe and Bolo just more experience on the old way that Darkzero played, and I really think there's just a lack of love for that way to play after how much success and how much youth it felt like this new DZ was going to have, and then they go back to reverting it. I think they just lost a lot of that, just love for that style of play, and I don't think they necessarily believe it anymore.
The problems for DZ also feel like it's worsening stage overs or game over game. We think one thing is the problem, and then DZ goes into the lab and tries to diagnose it, and then in that Beast Coast game, a whole other problem came up that now we have to figure out why that happened in the first place. Jesse, what was that?
Yeah, I mean, March 29th, Jacob, may go down as the darkest day in North American League history, because that was the day that we saw the apex of Bolo's fall from grace. First, he fell literally through the construction hatch in the 1v1 against Geo in their season opener.
Oh, God.
Then he fell in the 1v1 against Jinxie the very next day on his own stream. And now he's fallen to himself, putting up his career lowest game of all time. Through the 4 or 5 years that Bolo has played this game, he puts up his worst performance against Beast Coast. And I gotta say, Canadian, you've gotta fix this, because North America can't handle our hero of Bolo falling right now. North America's in a rough spot. Brazil is beating us at every turn. Europe is laughing at our slow and sluggish playstyle. APAC's got a guy named Turd who's got like a 90% win rate against North American teams. Canadian, I ask of you here and now, please fix this problem going on with Bolo and the rest of the team, because things are not going as they should be, and there's a huge, huge gap between what Bolo has historically been putting up and that last game where he really fell short of mine and I think many people's expectations.
So Bolo's having his worst career start, and now they have to face the undefeated 5-0, no overtime appearances OXG. Good freaking grief of all the teams that they had to play coming into this week. It had to start with Oxygen.
Well, you know what they say, the toughest challenges go to those who need to face them the most, or something like that. And I do think Oxygen is going to be the toughest challenge for Darkzero. This is where DZ needs to come out and prove we've fixed our problems, we've gotten back on track, and Oxygen, I mean, they're the best team in North America right now. So now's when you really got to show it.
Absolutely. They're so consistent in the way they play. I don't think there's necessarily been a team that's been able to stump them. I would have thought that it would have been DZ with the slow, methodical style, but DZ does not look like they're ready to play, especially not against the prime OXG. I would say that they're in their prime right now.
Well, we're going to keep harping on it because it's the first time any NAL team has ever started a stage with 5 wins and no losses, so we caught up with Diaz real quick just to get his thoughts on what it's going to be like coming out of the Super Week.
I'm Diaz, player for OXG. The things that we found that has been helping us succeed has been our routine. So like making sure we're scrimming 6 maps a day, VOD reviewing our mistakes, fixing our strats, watching other teams play and looking at their tendencies, stuff like that. And I think all of that has been helping us play well. So far, the team that has given us the most trouble has been Luminosity. We went up 6-1, I think, and we got overconfident. They brought it back to 6-5. We almost went overtime. So that's one thing we learned, was to not get overconfident, to make sure we close out the game before things go wrong. Teams that will pose a threat to us in playoffs. I think one that comes to mind is Beast Coast. They had a rough start, but they are very good. We've been scrimming them a lot. We scrimmed them before the tournament started, through the tournament, and they always smoke us in scrims. So if they get their stuff together, they'll be a big threat. I think most teams, to be honest, are pretty good. I don't think there's any terrible teams that are not capable of beating everyone. I think everyone could beat everyone. I just want to shout out my team. Thank you for putting in the work, and we're going to Manchester for sure.
Well, it's pretty darn difficult to find something OXG is doing wrong at this point in time. Everything in their stage has been regulation victories, no overtime appearances, and a very, very clean point total right now that's put them in contention to maybe jump right into top 2. They've already confirmed playoffs. They might get a first-round bye if they knock DZ off in quick fashion here.
Yeah, Oxygen are in a really good spot in the North American League right now. For me, the biggest thing has been their recovery rate. Even when they're losing the opening pick, they have over a 50% chance of winning the round throughout their games so far, 54% in particular. So for OXG, it doesn't seem to matter if they win the early game, if they lose in the early game, they always find themselves in a dominant position.
It really comes to the strength of how they play, because every single execute, every single strat that they do really is 2 people behind it. And you can watch it in the game today if you really want to pay attention to it. Every single step-by-step process, there's 2 people. If they see an opening, no one person is doing it without somebody directly behind them. And that's the beauty of OXG. Their trade game has just looked so phenomenal so far.
Can they keep that trade game going on Consulate? DZ have got defense first, and Oxygen are just looking to keep the pain train going. What do we think of the pick, guys?
I don't like the pick. I don't like the pick, to be honest.
For who? Who do you?
I don't like the pick for OXG, because in my mind, OXG should win this should win this game in theory. But on Consulate, I feel like is still an unproven map, and if there's a team that's going to be strategical on it, it would be Darkzero. But I don't like the map, but it wouldn't sway my opinion on who's going to win either way.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The last time we saw Oxygen play this map was against Karn & Co. And while you guys did win that game, that's not exactly a strong base of knowledge to look back on. So, I mean, one advantage is it's kind of a hidden map. We've not really seen new OXG here. But all in all, I mean, it's going to be a territory that is a little bit unexplored for Oxygen, and that could open the door for Darkzero.
Also, historically defender-sided for the most part, not just since its reintroduction, but just the way the meta swings right now. So DZ starting defense first could be an Achilles heel, but again, OXG currently can't really do very much wrong, so let's see if that holds true here. Wait, what?
What?
Wait.
Laxing.
Oh, brother.
What have you done?
Oh, brother.
He's swinging for the fences. He's doing whatever he can to try to get his percentage out of the gutter at this rate. I think that's what that pick is. Whether he actually has faith in DZ, that's a different story. Do we have faith in DZ? What do we think? Does the map sway the prediction?
I don't have faith in DZ against OXG, to put it bluntly. I just don't have faith. I just think OXG's right now, their trade game is too on point, and I just don't think Darkzero is meant for that style of siege. They're not a gun-heavy team, at least not right now.
Cool. OXG content creator goes with OXG. Jesse, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's very deserved. I mean, this is the best-looking team in the entire North American League right now.
Yeah.
Darkzero, a lot of problems over the last couple of weeks. Teams have improved their problems and upset on predictions and before, but it's too tall of a task in my mind. I'm going for Oxygen.
Unbiased.
Yeah, you are.
Unbiased desk.
No, not unbiased. Are biased.
No,
You am biased.
No.
No bias?
No bias. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Let's play the game, Jacob.
Cool, yeah, let's play the game. And let's give it to Parker and Pengu, who will play the game for us and tell us who's going to win. Right, guys? Right?
Thank you so much. Just as we saw in our very first matchup, there's a lot on the line, but OXG can at least breathe a sigh of relief. They've already clinched a spot in the playoffs, which means that they are maybe just a couple best of threes away from booking their ticket to Manchester. But they obviously want to finish in the top 2, and they can get close to, if not outright clinch that spot, if they pick up all 3 points today. OXG have looked so good, and every single region has had one team run away from the rest of the pack. What is it about OXG that has looked so darn good? And then the follow-up question, Nick, will be, what is it about Darkzero that's looked so darn bad? Because DZ are in second last place to start today's match.
Yeah, I really think this is a battle of the consistent versus the inconsistent, where OXG, obviously with their placement, they're the consistent team, right? They play a really stable round of Rainbow Six Siege. They have good win condition, they have good team play, they have good gunners, like they're getting things done every single round. And then Darkzero, they can look phenomenal, just like at the Six Invitationals in February, or they will look probably a version of themselves that is one of the worst we have seen in a very long time. They've been having some struggles here in this first stage, and I think it's a big surprise because of how well they looked at the Six Invitationals. And you're thinking, okay, they come out swinging, they pick up Bolo, they pick up Nave, things are working for them. It's a great DC that we're seeing. And then, you know, there's some small meta changes, the scope change that we keep talking about, that you zoom in slower and such, but that's not gonna affect their playstyle all that much, would it? Well, maybe it has. Or maybe that honeymoon phase is over, because there's always that moment where, you know, you pick up some new players, everyone's excited, things are going well, everyone's like on their best behavior, honeymoon phase, right? That ends, and now the harsh reality is that it's hard to make a good team. It's hard to make things work in the server. DC, of course, are having some struggles, but the benefit of picking up somebody like Bolo and Nave is the experience. You're not working with rookies, right? They should be able to handle this as individuals and as a team, but they might need a little bit more time. Whereas Oxygen, they've just come out the gate rather, storming. Like, they have just looked great since their very first playday, and it's why they're 5-0, and they're playing Consulate on the attacking side. But honestly, given how they've done so far, I'm not too worried for them like I would be for some other teams.
10 seconds left. 5 seconds remaining. Attackers objective use a bomb.
Oh yes.
Window is barricaded.
Okay.
Electrosensor on. Activating drone. Selma sequence activated. Loading mag.
Okay. But that's okay.
They might be in 8th place, Nick, but they are not far removed from the top teams. Wildcard are in 3rd place, and they are at 8 points. DZ and LG are in 7th and 8th, and they are at 6 points. So a win in regulation for DZ would actually put them in 3rd place. That's how close it is, and hey, taking out the best player in the league in Newers is a pretty good start for Darkzero.
I mean, it is. And you know, Panda's one of these players that he thrives off momentum. When it gets going early, it's normally Panda party time. That's the old saying where he will just not slow down and take it on Newers. That's going to give some good confidence, but then Canadian falls shortly after. And the pulse is a very big strategical win condition for this vertical bomb site of Archives Tellers. You want that pulse scanner down below. You want the C4 utility. That's gone from play now. Sure, they got the Maestro, they got the Solace, they have backup options here for DC. They still can play it out the way they're supposed to, but they can't lose any more members like they lost Canadian to Verticality.
No, and I mean, there might be some finger pointing in this season about the rules that Canadian plays on. When you consider the fact that, well, he's not exactly the greatest mechanical player. His game sense is good, and there's no questioning his IGLing. But you're getting to a point now where if you're going to be roaming, as Pambazoo was doing, as Canadian was doing, you need to be able to win your duels. And the problem is that Canadian has had those struggles in the past. Maybe playing safer roles, maybe not playing Solace, Vigil, Pulse. Maybe that would help DZ, especially with the aimers that they have on the team. There's no denying the mechanical skill of the other 4 players. In fact, Bolo might be one of the most mechanically gifted players to ever come out of North America. Rely on those players to get the kills. Though I suppose Canadian will say that, hey, I need to play these roles to be a better IGL. He knows better than we do. He's a multi-time world champ. That said, all the killing that's happening was at the hands of DZ. He has his last alive for OXG in this Teller's bomb site, and he'll die to Bolo. DZ win the first round.
Speaking of Bo's mechanical skill, he picks up 3 kills pretty quickly with that long line of sight all the way from lobby into that bomb site of Tellers. And then, yeah, this is like that new scope change, for example, where Castle now has an ACOG scope. You can play Castle in those kind of far back positions because now, while the UMP isn't technically a great gun, the fact that it has a zoom scope available makes it a lot better than when it didn't. And it enables you to play at different kind of Castle positions in those rounds, and Bolo took full advantage. We saw Pamela go out like the lobby door, get injured by Gomez, and then Bolo was trying to, bait the kill off the injury of Pambasu. Didn't work out. Bolo played it nice and safe, like don't over-aggress. DC, they are one of the most structured teams in the world. They play very, I guess you would say, predictable around the win conditions, and in that bomb site, it's simply staying alive. DC, they're not the kind of team to give up that early man advantage for nothing. They're always fighting with intent. They're always rotating around the map with intent as well, both on the attack, but definitely on the defense. It's very structured, and it's one of their biggest strengths. It's what sets them apart from other teams, but I think for their opponents, it's also why some teams go, DC, they're kind of easy to play against because they're readable, they're predictable, but depends on what kind of team you are. Every single matchup will be different. The way OXG feel about Darkzero is different from M80, for example. So in some matchups, the playstyle of Darkzero will single-handedly win them the game. And in other matchup, they might need to go off of that default game plan that they have because it won't work against some teams. It's an interesting situation.
Well, Canadian will go off of his traditional intel roles that we see and instead go with an operator who provides intel in a different way. That's the Capkin. One thing that is often overlooked at this level of competition is that operators, Legion, Capkin, they're going to give you a lot of information when you either hear the entry denial devices being shot or you hear the goo mines going off. I think if you're maybe not well acquainted with top level play, you might think that, oh, you bring Capkin because they walk into the Capkin traps and it kills people. And to a certain extent, that is correct, especially if a round goes late. Frost mats, Legion mines, Capkin traps, they all get more powerful when a team needs to rush to pull off an objective. And the later into a round you get, the more likelihood there is of somebody not checking and vaulting through a window or over a wall into a frost mat or hitting an EDD as they walk through a doorway. But they also give information. So Canadian, if he hears one of those go off, he'll be able to say, yeah, there's one over here. Or even if they get shot, it will slow down these attackers and work against the speed that OXG has shown so far through much of this stage.
It has done that. I mean, 1 minute, 10 seconds. They're entering the building up. They got yellow pings, they got good intel, and they get the opening kill. Newers, they're working with Gomez. They found 2 apiece, actually, and now OXG, they're speeding up. Darkzero, they don't find anything on the exterior roam, but again, they're still having NG out there. C4 lands from Canadian, so DC, again, they still got those win conditions in mind.
OXG have lost Dream. They've lost their main hard breacher, but they've still got guns on their side, able to pack a punch with the Buck and the Ash. Viewers in particular on that Ash can do so much damage, but Gomez has really been the standout performer for OXG. He's had terrific rounds. He's able to do a lot of this on his own, and I think both Diaz and Gomez look far more comfortable on this OXG roster than they did on the M80 roster. Maybe that's a hot take to be had. It's also a much smaller sample size. They played a lot more games with M80 than they have with OXG.
15 seconds remaining.
Right now, they are gelling, and it looks like Oxygen have made the roster moves needed to be real winners, and they haven't dropped a game just yet.
Has been dropped.
Now the rubber meets the road. Where is your diffuser? 5 seconds left. Canadian far enough back. He's holding them at bay. Diaz on the final second will start the plant.
What?
But Bolo is there to scare him off, and DZ will go up 2-0.
That was a very, curious plant spot. I mean, they could have gone close right of the piano door and they're safe and sound, but they must have assumed that there was either somebody above or somebody below playing verticality against them, because they planted in the middle of the piano room that they can't fully cover, and they never checked the small closet right next door. And guess what? Bolo's sitting in there. Just steals the round for Darkzero. And, you know, OXG, they got all they could ever want on a constant attack. They get 2 opening picks. They were quick and they were explosive. Once they got into the building, they had like 1:20-ish seconds to work with, and they had pretty much all of top floor control. They got a lot of things going for them that most teams would kill to get, and they still make that simple small mistake, and guess what? DC punish it again. It's those small things right now. DC are one step ahead, and they're looking very locked in. Sure, they didn't really hold the room upstairs very long. Every single member died isolated in positions, and I want to praise OXG for how that happened. They spent 2 full minutes just simply droning in the building, gathering all the accurate information to work with. Then they go, hey, Newers, you're gonna jump in this window into top spiral. Gomez, go into admin. We got a yellow ping for you. Flashbang, go for the kill. It was easy kills for Oxygen, but strategically, different story. DC up 2-0. Canadian was hiding inside of CO, trying to not showcase the post pick, because if the attacker's only playing post below, they're not gonna expect that C4. DC have 3 different C4s, NDR, Pambusu, and Canadian. They should get at least 1 kill in this round, one way or another, once OXG enter the building. And this forces OXG to always have the floor control below where they're entering, if they know they're supposed to not die to that C4.
C4 from Pambusu will go out. Doesn't find anything. Instead, Pambusu will look towards admin, towards where Newers has rappelled in. As we have come to fix our terminology.
Yep.
Nick, we finally have sound.
There it is. We're so back.
We've done it. We finally have sound. We have been operating so far the entire broadcast without any sound.
We are so back.
We are so back. We can finally hear things, and that is great.
Sound is
Hopefully that means the
pretty
casting
crucial.
will improve as well.
I was gonna say, it's hard to cast without sound, you know? You don't hear those small cues all the time. Like that C4.
It's quite challenging.
Yep.
You can't hear things going off. You can't hear the explosions. You don't know where people are coming from. This is the first round where there hasn't been an early death so far. Newers is so close to dealing with Bolo. Honestly, it's a dream matchup. 2 exceptionally talented, skilled players, mechanically gifted. Newers thought he had the all clear. He did not. Bolo persists in this spot. Amazoo kill as well. Bolo had a lineup onto Diaz, who swung the door, and a pre-fire from the Vector will tear shreds through OXG. Just Dream and Gomez. Oxygen in trouble early on. Easy have not suffered a single point of damage.
I mean, this is there for the taking. I mean, you're just dying to the fire right now. Relax, okay? Dream, Gomez, slow down. Wait here, 20 seconds, right? Tick, tick, tock. There we go. Into the room. Try and hold the cross, but guess what? Another wing condition. Toxic Babe denies the entry. They're forced to go somewhere else.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
Down goes Dream. Flawless round on the books right now for DZ, as multiple players will all try to hunt down Gomez. Pambusu, a multi-kill. DZ goes up 3-0. This is a statement match from them. They are desperate for points. And they're not, like we said, far removed from making playoffs. They sit at 6 points. Third place sits at 8 points. There's 3 points up for grabs if you prevail in regulation. OXG calling their timeout. My.
I mean, I think the game plan for DC has been very simple so far, right? You put Bolo and Pambusu in the front row, just get those engagements, try and get some of those opening kills, or at the very least shut down the entries from OXG, because it has been the front doing so much work from them on the attacking side, as you would expect. But Newers has only been a factor in a single round so far in the first 3, and even the round where he did get that opening kill, they didn't win the round. So DC are almost forcing OXG to change their tactical approach, maybe change their player positions, and it's a really wise tactical timeout. Being down 0-3, try and figure out the problems before that round score gets too far away from you, because while it's hard to attack on Consulate, you need to get that 2-round victory. You can get a 2-4 half, it's okay, but if you go 1-5 or a 6-0 or a 0-6 rather, it's pretty much over. You have no wiggle room once you go on the favorable side of defense. You gotta be flawless. You cannot rely upon that. So I like the timeout. I hope it's gonna change something around here, either an operator picks or player positions, or just maybe, I want to say take it slower, because OXG they have had 2 slow rounds, but more play tight together. Don't throw buddies away for free, because DC will be there to pick up and like punish you. You gotta be able to trade those positions. You lose a player, they lose a player, you progress on attack, you're winning. And if you just lose players and don't progress anywhere, you're not going anywhere.
5 seconds remaining.
Very well said. This is the first time that we've really seen OXG sweat. They have 5 wins, as you can see at the top of your screen, and all 5 of those have come in regulation. 7-4 over Los, 7-3 over Wildcard. They technically got a DQ win over Mirage, 7-5 over Luminosity, 7-3 over Sonics. This is a team that really hasn't been fully challenged. They also beat Beast Coast 7-3. So if the average score against OXG right now sits at about 3.5 rounds, DZ is almost there, and we've only played 3 rounds so far. Diaz anti-blue collar, by the way, confirmed. You saw that? Shooting the overalls, shooting common man's goods. We got the bourgeoisie on the board, folks.
Got the what now?
Bourgeoisie.
Bourgeoisie.
Bourgeoisie. That was a reference solely for Lynx, by the way, and I'm sure he enjoyed it.
Aww. Such a good friend to Carter.
Thank you. I try my best. He is my son,
He's
after
your
all.
son. Yep.
Half of the way through the round, OXG's focus is on that garage wall. Looks like they've opened it up. They also strike first. There's Newers on yellow stairs, asserting himself ever closer to the bomb site after killing Pambazoo.
Good start. Got Yogg on the nerf for the flank late round, comes off the side, execute. So this is OXG striking from multiple locations. For once, you see it here, the flank starting on the visa staircase, can be seen by those cameras, but can be heard. You no longer silent or reduced audible, audio with that gadget activation. There was a nuke that came about 6 months ago. Dream, fire, smoke, OXG go, Yogg flank. That's the whole game plan right now for OXG.
Olo amidst the smoke will try to reposition NJR, the first kill for DZ. Diffuser being pinged by Canadian as he's allowing all of DZ to get their licks in. NJR, a huge round so far, all 3 kills. But now he's dropped by Yaga, who's sensational in this spot on Nook. You thought that Nook didn't really have a spot in pro play, did you? Yaga will need to clutch out now in the 1v2 or DZ goes up 4-0. Yaga had gone over to M80 during SI. Now back to OXG, but still playing with Gomez and Diaz as he was in Brazil. Canadian will see exactly where that diffuser's going down. Will he put himself in harm's way? He allows it to go off. Imperative that he and Bolo work together. Bolo gets the kill. Who gets the diffuser, though? That's the question. Do you give it to the Bodog? Do you give it to Jason Doty? Does Troy Jaroslavsky get it? Comedian, as some would call him. I'm not sure. We didn't get to see it. 4-0, though, for DZ.
I want to praise the attack from OXG. I thought it was really well executed. The flank was successful. The Capital also successful. But DC, again, strategically, they're thinking 2 steps ahead. So OXG trying to go for a smoke Capital fire plant in the middle of the bomb site. What does DC do? They have Canadian on Solus, literally on the top floor of the building with the Solus scanner active, just going, he's planning here, pings him. Oh, he's planning here, pings that guy as well. And then NGR on the bomb side will just get the kills through the smokes. It's completely free. And it's one of those simple things where if you don't have a smart player on the Solus operator, you don't get that full value. If you don't have somebody with a big brain, if you will, like Canadian, you might not see that kind of play. As a team, that was set up from the very beginning from Darkzero based off their player positions. And OXG, they bought into it. Guys, the bomb site's pretty clear here. They cannot see through the smoke. We can just go for it. You were wrong. And sure, the flank was successful, but guess what? You don't have diffuser. You didn't plant it down. You don't have a man advantage because you're always losing those right now if you're OXG. And it comes down to the intel game, the information available. And this is a consulate with Mira, Pulse, Valkyrie, Maestro open, Solus open. It's just a matter of what do you want to know? And you just pick the perfect operator in terms of intel if you're a defender. And if you're attacking, you gotta worry about playing IQ or soft destruction. And if you're playing IQ, you gotta hunt down the Solus or hunt down the poles. It's not easy to get into the building of Consulate. And it's why we're still struggling in those early engagements.
A familiar spot for Canadian now, playing it downstairs. That's where he spent a great deal of time before, but I don't know if Visa, if he wants to go back upstairs or down below. Yaga's got a read on his cross. If the silhouettes don't betray me, this might be a very tough spot for Canadian. Newers walks in up top. In the managers from admin. Pan Bazoo's got so many bullets in that P90. Hasn't reloaded. Still has 28 more. OXG took their time out. They lost the next round. The round after, this one right here, Gomez and Newers are gone, and there's 90 seconds left.
That was just bad for Oxygen. The drone arrived to find the roamer after both members had died on the entry, so they're being sold. I mean, I don't blame Yok for that death, because what are you gonna do here? You're playing 3v5, but Oxygen, they're the team where they look disjointed. They're not droning for each other, they're not playing together, they're not getting into the building, and they look frustrated. And I mean, DC are doing a great job of making it difficult for them. It's hard to problem solve right now. And if you start falling apart in those early engagements, you get frustrated in the server. You start tilting a little bit. The guns aren't hitting their marks. It's tough, man. But you gotta do something here. You might as well just go for a side rush or something, because clearly the good old default ticks for Oxygen are not working. DC, full counterplay.
Bamazoo holding court up top. Crossing the projector. As long as he can actually hold this out, he might be in good spot, but he's gonna go for a run through main door. This is as clear as it can get. Nobody from OXG to catch him. Dream in hot pursuit. Is this really the best use of your time? Everybody from Darkzero is still alive. There we go. Pamazoo might have overstayed his welcome. A labyrinth of closed doors awaits Dream.
15 seconds to go.
You guys will need to link up with him. Spots a player from DZ, but Darkzero are so adept at playing keep away. Dave has had a very quiet game. He gets on the board by killing Dream in this round, and there's Bolo with the shotgun on banana stairs. OXG held scoreless so far. It's 5-0. DZ hanging on all cylinders.
There's a really real chance for like a 7-0, or at the very least a 6-0 half, and then we'll see what happens after that. But this is not what I expected. I mean, we gotta look at the matches with like somewhat realistic eyes, right? Okay, should DC beat OXG, looking at how both teams have played this stage? Maybe in overtime, maybe in a super hard-fought victory, maybe if OXG don't show up on the game day. But this is, in my world, more DC playing well than OXG playing poorly. Sure, that last round, the missed drone, the miscommunication, losing 2 of those early players, and then the round is basically over at that point, that's completely on OXG. I mean, Pamba hit some great shots, he saw an opportunity, but you don't drone, like, what do you expect? But the previous, like the first 4 rounds, that's DC with counterplay. Hitting good shots, having that strategical depth, having those win conditions, having verticality, having info, making it difficult. I want to see OXG just full send or something on this final round, because the default takes are not working. And I like the Monty, I like the Amaru, I want to see some confidence with that. You gotta full commit, you gotta believe in yourself here, you gotta show us you believe in yourself. No walking in, not checking your corners, not droning things properly, no baiting outside the building. No, you gotta just get in there and just do what you can do, because you need to shift this momentum. And you gotta shut down Darkzero, because if you keep letting someone like Pambitsu and Bolo run away, just picking up kill after kill. I mean, Bolo hasn't even died. It is 8-0. When you let them do that to you, you're not gonna stop until it's over. And then it very well could be like a 7-0 or a 7-1 here favoring DC. We see the approach here from OXG. CEO-oriented take. armor on the window, once people are gonna go yellow stairs, block downstairs with verticality. This all makes sense, but if it makes sense to us, that means DC are likely ready for it too. And they got Canadian in the basement, scouting for intel. Now it comes down to the 1v1 here between Gomez and Canadian, but Gomez has drone intel as well. It's not a fair fight for Canadian, so he has to either escape with his life intact or win the engagement.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm putting my money on Gomez here.
Okay. I believe in Troy. Come on. Come on, Troy. Okay,
I was right.
you're right. I'm sorry.
Gomez destroys Canadian down below.
Recovered the diffuser.
I think the bigger thing for the Pulse, though, is just simply wasting the time. And again, if you've got Bolo playing the way he has, NJR having a 3-piece in 1 round, Bambazoo, multiple multi-kill rounds, 2 to be fact, 2 in fact, is great. I mean, you don't need to do anything. All you need to do is just waste time, and that's exactly what Canadian did. I know I started off this broadcast by pointing my finger at Canadian and saying, you know, hey, maybe we might start to be a bit critical about the roles that he plays on and the operators in particular, but it seems to be working out here. I knew that Darkzero would bounce back at some point. I didn't expect this kind of fall off for OXG though, Nick. Oh my.
I didn't either.
Were you coughing because of the smoke on your screen? Because that's exactly what Dream was doing, and then Gomez dies to NJR, who's still holding this same position.
Talking for Dream.
Toxic canister to go out, and Dream is just, at this point, just waiting. Nafe has one more Toxic Babe with 35 seconds left. This is well timed by Darkzero.
No one's helping Dream, by the way. He's trying to set things up, being the bait player. They're gonna try and go into that CEO window, but if no one helps Dream, he cannot progress. Last Toxic Babe, though, OXG very slow execute here.
He's gonna walk in, DZ, doubling up on those kills. Dream has been the star of the show from a spectator perspective. Who from DZ will get this last kill? Bolo, 11-0 to start the first half. Good God, Darkzero. Did OXG get the day off today? I wasn't aware that they didn't even bother to show up. OXG doing their best ninjas in pajamas impression, and they all have the same long face that we saw from Nip in yesterday's matches. A tremendous first half for Darkzero and a rare smile on their faces. There has not been a lot for Darkzero to smile about so far through this stage, but how about a 6-0 on a map that's been played twice? It has a 50-50 win rate for the defenders and the attackers. We saw our very first server tellers defense win at a 100% success rate for the attackers prior to it getting played, albeit only through two attempts. OXG called their timeout 3 rounds ago. It did absolutely nothing.
No.
Newers has looked...
10 seconds left before insertion.
I mean, there's words I want to use,
5 seconds to go.
but I don't want to say them on the broadcast. Newers is having a terrible day.
Objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Newers led in rating and in KD coming into today. He also had the 3rd highest cost. Spoit and Dream sharing the highest, then Nafe, then Newers, then Diaz, by the way. Newers also having the 2nd most clutches. He's a plus 27 on his KD ahead of Ashen, and he's going to tumble down right now unless he can pick it up and OXG can pick it up. Newers sits on a 2-5 score line. 3 points for Darkzero would push them up into 3rd place. They would just jump ahead of Wildcard and Space Station. However, those teams still have matches to play, so easy jumping up in the standings is good for them, obviously. Gets them out of the basement right now that they share with Luminosity and Los. But all of these teams are so close together, only 2 points separating 3rd and 8th. 1 minute off of the clock, Nick and DZ bringing a bit of a different lineup than what we saw from OXG.
Didn't Bolo have like a 0.00 rating game recently where he was like 0-8, and then now he's 11-0 with that? What's gonna probably be a very high rating after this game ends, assuming that DC, of course, they take it soon and we don't go all the way to overtime and stuff like that. Because if you're a DC fan, you know that there's this thing where it goes well, it was easy for a moment, and then before you know it, it's like overtime, and you know they win out eventually, but it's such a struggle, and creates heart attacks for their fans. DC are playing it very slow and methodical right now. They want to get the early pick. When I pick this apart, it's a limited top 4 take. Kind of like on Cafe, where they take like one control of like admin, they do verticality, they rotate downstairs, and they attack the bomb set instead. But with Solos open, you can read that. You can see where those air jabs are, destroy them, see where those drones are, go for a flank. Neurus also has a good read. They know where the attack is coming from, but DC, they're progressing. They got the drone, they got the guns behind it, and they're moving forward and closing in on the bomb site itself.
I don't know if you saw this, but the other day in the OS League, the circular spheres goofed had the best rating that we have ever seen tracked by Siege GG at a 2.85. And that's because Goofed went 15-0. Olo at 11-0 is certainly trying to challenge that, almost as if he took that personally. Mind you, he wasn't the one that was holding on to that rating, so it's not like he lost anything, but certainly a terrific performance from Bolo. Playing on Ram, when you look at the lineup from DZ, Bolo might not be one of the main points of the spear, so if DZ does win this round, there's a high likelihood that Bolo might survive the whole way. This is very, very bad, though. Carving into the wall does not allow Canadian to get through. He has no protection. There goes a Nitro Cell. Pambazu dies. Newer's trading off. Nafe goes down. Canadian goes down. Bolo, save the KD. You just need to live for another second. Don't die. Good. Job done. OXG wins the round. Bolo survives. At this current point in time, Bolo living through all of these rounds might be more valuable than OXG winning the round. But if you're ever going to mount a comeback, you got to start with the first win, and that's what OXG gets done on their very first defense.
It really is a matter of just a best of 1 in rounds if you're actually right. Because you go round by round, and eventually you're hopeful to see overtime. And if not, then you know it's over. So 2 things there for Darkzero. 1, very slow attack. You know, just like in good old Darkzero fashion. But also, I don't know if Canadian got stuck on the rotate and couldn't go through it, or if you rubber banded back, you know, on the opposite side, because it looked like he was turning his gun looking for a gunfight, but he was not on our screen actually past the rotate itself. Not entirely sure what happened, but I wouldn't say that it impacted the outcome of the round. You know, there was no time, Bolo wasn't there to cover. I don't think the plant would have gone down regardless. So I think speed is the problem right now for DC. It's the first round, you gotta feel things out. And also, not that this is probably true, but if you're bowling at 11-0, you might play a little bit more passive in the early stages of the round if you want to hold on to that, you know, 11-0 stat line. I don't think Jason's that kind of guy, but you never know, right? If you realize what kind of game you're having right now and you like the numbers, you might try and play a little bit safe. But it's no surprise that on defense, Troy played, you know, the Solace, the Pulse, with information to call the shots as the leader for the team, and in similar fashion attack. Now he's on to Monty, previously it was on Osa. These kind of safe roles where he can fully enable his brain to think about the strategical elements of the round and not worry about, hey, what about this gunfight? What about this engagement I might have in a second? You just play Monty, you extend your shield, you go, hey, this room is clear, that room is clear, any over here on yellow ping. Guys, we're gonna try and plant in this corner. You know, NGR protect me, whatever the case might be. It enables the leadership from Canadian to take full control of those small details in the round. But also, if you're the Monty, you can shove people out of the room clear. If you find Yogg up top floor and you're Monty, you can take him down. If you go basement tier and you find anybody in servers, you can also take them down. And it's just important that somebody helps Troy, like one gun behind him is all he needs to just start taking map control. And we see it right now. Joins the room, walks in, you know it's free, completely free roam clear if there were any roamers, but there's not.
This is something that obviously, because we couldn't hear the desk, we didn't know, but it was indeed 0-8. So
Yeah.
You were correct about that one. Jesse actually mentioned it, and it was Bolo's worst game of his career, which is a heck of a time to have it.
It's one of the
Always
worst
gonna
games
have
ever.
a worst game of your career. It exists for everybody, but I mean, I guess to have it in a middle stage match when things are not as bad as they could be, why not? Get it out of the way. Slump early and catch fire when it matters the most. Darkzero on fire so far through this match against OXG. 6-1 the scoreline, as you can see on the top of your screen. OXG knows the assault coming from the east side of this map. And there's the Monty taking a lot of damage. Grima Pambazu looking to strike Gomez in the top spot. Finished off by Canadian. Not long enough, though. He's dropped, but not dead. come to blows, both teams. There goes Tiaz Pambazoo in on it. Goodbye, Yaga. 12-0 for Bolo. He doesn't die. DZ wins the match. 12-0 for Jason Doty.
Oh boy.
DZ destroy the #1 rated team in North America. Not only was OXG undefeated, Nick, but they had not lost, or they had only won in regulation. And yet, not only do they lose here, but they get blown out. Only a single round victory. An embarrassing result for OXG, but their spot in the top 6 is locked in. And depending on what happens with today's matchups, the likelihood that they finish in the top 2 could increase as well. Because right now, there's nobody that's going to be able to catch them outside of M80, who are right behind them. So OXG have quite the cushion, and they've still got a couple more games to lock in that top 2 spot.
I'm also sure that there are some fans out there that really, they got a good amount of channel points on this one, I think, because very few people going into this game thought, you know what, DC are gonna win, and they're gonna win 7-1. I bet you nobody really predicted that, but it happened. Big surprise.
Yeah, I certainly didn't expect that result one bit. Third time that we've seen Consulate so far gives us a not super exciting matchup, if we're being completely frank, but one that is definitely worth talking about. And I know the desk is going to love to dive into that. We've still got 2 more matches to go as well. So we'll be right back as the NA League continues today.